The development of my incremental game IIGG is coming along nicely, and in the past couple of weeks I've been working hard on getting all of these Steam related features in place, like achievements, stats, cloud saves, stuff like that.
Wishlist IIGG on Steam now, thank you very much.
So as I've never released a game on Steam before, I've never worked with the Steamworks API, so the first step was to learn everything I could about it. And so I did what anyone would do and skimmed through a single YouTube tutorial and then just winged it from there. So the Steamworks API is some crazy C++ library that I have absolutely no idea how to even begin with. But luckily for me, there are a lot of smarter people out there that do know what's going on and have written C#, Unity-focused wrappers that I could just plonk down into my game's files and use to easily call Steam-based functions. There's a few of these wrappers online, most notably Steamworks.net and Facepunch.steamworks. Steamworks.net aims to be a faithful wrapper with the C++ version, and Facepunch.steamworks is a reinterpretation of the API in a C# world. Those aren't my words, that's literally what Facepunch said about it, and in the one example they gave, it seemed easier, so sure Gary, I'll go with your approach. I downloaded their library, chucked it into the assets folder, and set up a very basic Steam manager that communicates with this API to give updates about what's going on. To begin with, this has to call the Steamworks client and initialize with the app ID that it gives you on the dashboard. And if this is true, you're good to go. And honestly, using this API is so easy. It only takes a few lines to set up the functionality to call for an achievement to be unlocked or a stat to be updated. So if you care about the code, this is literally it. Now that I've got the Steam API working, let's take a look at the main feature I've made that actually uses them. The achievements. In the menu, I've now got this button here that takes you to the achievements page in-game. That all uses data pulled directly from Steam. I've got a rudimentary achievement list that is automatically populated, and the icons are displayed whether or not you have the achievement unlocked. So this one here, just the beginning, you can see is normal because I've already unlocked it. And this one, the 1%, is locked and grayed out. Obviously this menu isn't finished yet, but a lot of the core functionality is there, and that's what I wanted to focus on first. How do I actually add achievements? Well, it's very simple. If I go to the Steamworks dashboard here and click on IIGG, I can scroll down to the Achievements tab and you can see all of the achievements currently in the game. Each one has an API name, which is what the code will use, a display name and description for human eyes, a setting to say if it's a client or server that calls the API to say it's unlocked, a toggle to have the achievement hidden until it's unlocked for story spoilers or something like that, and then 2 icons for both the locked and unlocked state. I've got 10 achievements in the game so far, so let's add another one. For the API name, I went with achievements_goblin_1, as this achievement will be to get your first 5 goblins. It'll be tied to a Steam stat, which I haven't made yet, so I'll leave that blank for now. The name is the goblins', and the description there says to have 5 goblins gathering resources. It's set by the client and isn't hidden, and the icons I left blank to sort out later. Going into the stats page, here's how this works. Like the achievements, I just added a new stat called goblin_count, set by the client. This number only goes up by 1 at a time, starts at 0, and will max out at 999999999, because why not? With that stat made, I can now go back to the achievements and set up the linked stat to be that goblin count, with a max value of 5, which now means that when you purchase a goblin and update the stats page, Steam will automatically check whether or not this achievement is unlocked. I don't have to call this directly in the code at all. For the icon, I made a template in Critter that's a simple background and a filter layer that turns everything to grayscale, so that I can easily toggle it on and off and so that it's uniform across all achievements. For the achievements, I'm just using a sprite that makes sense for the category, so as this is about goblins, I'll chuck in this goblin sprite here, size him up, and there we go. That's the achievement icon sorted. I'll just save the locked and unlocked versions and upload them to Steamworks. If I publish this info to Steam, I can see that brand new achievement appear here straight away. Amazing. Now that the Steam side is all sorted, let's take a look in-game at how I trigger them. I created 2 components, a stat trigger and an achievement trigger, and all I have to do is attach these to whatever item it is that's going to call them in code. So for this goblin one, I can go into the spawner, which obviously spawns the goblins in, and I just need to add a stat trigger to this object, set the stat ID to goblin_count, and hook the trigger up to the event that is called when a goblin is successfully spawned in. That will now update the stat when you purchase a goblin, and the last thing to do is create a scriptable object for the achievements data in-game. I'll just duplicate one here and fill in the details. Instead of the file having the actual name and description of the achievement, it uses my localization system to pull the name based on the language selected. So this uses a generic key, which in this case will be ACH_goblins_1 for the name and description. The achievement ID is also stored here to load the data from Steam, and then the 2 sprites as well. I could access these all directly from Steam and pull the icons and names from there. However, storing it all locally like this means that I can easily remove any Steam related feature without bricking the game if I want to release it on itch or something like that later down the line. This data goes into the achievement manager, and if I load the game up, you can see that the achievement is now there in the list, and it's grayed out because I don't have it yet. So let's play the game and unlock it. I'll click a few trees, get some wood, and I'll hire some goblins. Except I'm pretty sure the max I can get at this point is only 4. I haven't sorted the balancing stuff out yet, but if I quit the game and load a new one, I should be able to buy 1 goblin, and there we go. The achievement popped. It won't be as easy when you get around to playing the game, obviously, but this is perfect for me to test everything. And as you can see here, in my Steam client, all the achievement data is working perfectly, and I can go ahead and plan out a whole bunch more. Now it's time to look at the balancing of the game and how I want it to play. Throughout all of my playtesting, I've realized that clicking is basically the only option you've got, because you can click way faster than a goblin can run around and gather materials. And I wanted to fix this because I didn't want this to just be a clicker game and give everyone RSI, so instead I changed it to a much less demanding system. In the selector, I added a few new settings so that it acts more like a trigger where it fires periodically as long as the mouse button is held down. To begin with, I set it up so that when the mouse is pressed, it sets a ball to true, and then every 2 seconds fires a ray out to try and click on anything. However, this has a few issues. First of all, there are other interactions aside from the resources, and they shouldn't be affected by the clicking cooldown at all. Things like selecting a goblin or opening up the base menu. With this first version, if you clicked a resource, you would essentially be locked out of opening the base for a couple of seconds, which can seem like a dropped input or a bug to the player. So I had to think about this system more creatively, and think about the order of operations it needed to go through. So the selector can either click on a resource, another interaction like a goblin or building, or nothing. And what I wanted to do is click on a regular interaction if found, otherwise hold the trigger so that you can drag it along resources. I played around with the order a bit, and here's what I came up with. So the first thing it does when you press the mouse button down is to see if it hit nothing. And if so, it sets the boolean to true until you let go of the mouse. If it did hit something, it then has to check what it hit. If it was a resource, it checks whether or not the cooldown has finished. If it hasn't, it just returns there, but if it has, it calls the selection on the resource, resets the cooldown, and keeps the ball to true, to repeatedly harvest resources until you let go of the mouse. And finally, if the ray hit a different interaction, and the trigger isn't currently set to true, it'll call the interaction like normal and sets that trigger to false so that it doesn't repeatedly select objects. With all this in place, you can click on the buildings like normal, or click and hold on resources to harvest them without accidentally dragging the cursor over something else that you didn't mean to select. With all that in place, it's finally time to fix the balancing issues in the game's upgrades, starting with stage 1. So like I said in a previous video, one of the most important parts of an incremental game is to get the perfect balance between the cost and effectiveness of upgrades. If it takes 10 minutes to get an upgrade, but it only marginally improves production, then it's just not worth it. And on the flip side, if the first upgrade is really cheap and makes everything 100 times faster, the game loses all playability instantly. I want the player to begin the game with no goblins, and you have to gather the first few resources manually. But then that first upgrade increases your goblin capacity to 5, allowing you to hire some. As the base harvest rate is 2 seconds for the player, the first upgrade will cost 5 wood, which is 10 seconds of manual harvesting. This is an easy way to instantly teach the player about harvesting resources manually and how upgrades work in the game before leading into hiring goblins alongside them. The first goblin hire is free, and the player can then click on the base to discover how to hire goblins. The price then increases from there, but I haven't got a set formula that I'm happy with, but I'll get to that. Originally, the goblins were kind of awful, because to begin with, their stats were so bad that you would just never gain resources, so I went through and tweaked the formulas for both move speed and interaction speed to improve the minimums, but reduce the amount gained per stat point. This just makes them better early on, and then I can add more stats to them along the upgrade path. Another issue I had was that when I made the upgrades, I just put random values in for the costs, so most of the goblins upgrades started at 50 wood, which takes a little too long at the beginning. So I went ahead and smoothed the costs out so you wouldn't be stuck waiting for a single upgrade for too long. I also played around with all of the stat values for the upgrades. With all of that in place, you should now arrive at the first milestone of the game within about 90 minutes to 2 hours of gameplay. Whereas before, I had to set the game speed to 30x just to reach that point in a reasonable manner for testing. I still have to do a bit more balancing for this area, and as I want to add a couple of other features that will grant resources and boosts, I may change this again, but for now I'm very happy with how it plays. Overall, the game is coming together nicely. I'd still want to add little bits that spice up the game, like a little loot goblin that randomly appears, but that'll come a bit later on. For now though, it's time for another edition of Subscriber Wars. While they battle it out in the arena, I just want to take a minute to discuss my overall plan with IIGG and future projects going forward. So I currently have IIGG marked for around a July release. I don't want to dwell on it too much, so I'm working hard to get it done. After that, I'll be releasing the final Lego Loco update and everything that comes with that, so look forward to that because I've had a few people ask me about it already. I will be releasing the full project source code alongside that, so people are free to do whatever they want with it. As well as that, there's another short-term project that I have planned for the second half of the year, and some little bits sprinkled in here and there. It looks like this round of Subscriber Wars is a slow one, no one wants to get involved, but Space Girl Series is the winner, another VIP win. How interesting. Remember, the Steam page for IIGG is now live, so check it out and add it to your wishlist. Leave a comment down below on your thoughts of IIGG so far. What do you like? What do you not like? I'd love to hear about it. If you want to support the game further, go over to my Patreon page where there's currently a promo running for new members which gives you 50% off with the code IIGG, and if you become a member, you will automatically receive a Steam key for the game on release and have your name featured as one of the goblins available to hire. So check it out now. I would massively appreciate it. But that's going to do for today. I hope you enjoyed this devlog. It's been really fun making the game and I cannot wait to share it with all of you. But as always, thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.